Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Zach with Android Digest, and I've got a very interesting phone here in my hand. This is the Motorola Razr 5G. This is the second generation of this foldable phone, and for a lot of you it means absolutely nothing, but you might be pretty interested to see how it works. And you might not really care all that much about buying it because this costs $1,200 right now, and it retails at about $1,400. So I want to let you know, if there are some people out there who should buy this phone, I want to let you know how this foldable technology is evolving over time, and I want to let you know who in the world should buy a $1,200 Motorola Razr, and maybe you'd be surprised, it might just be you. So let's get straight into the review and find out how good this Motorola Razr is. So this Motorola Razr here, I've got to say, this phone, if you look at it, it has an exterior display. This exterior display is a display that's good for peeking at notifications. You can actually read your emails, read your text messages. You could even pull up YouTube videos on this small display, and that's part of the design with this phone. This phone is really made for those people that don't want to open up their phone, because you might be that person that you get scrolling on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and next thing you know, you're in your phone for like 2 hours and you've been using your phone all the time. This is a way to just see the quick notification and decide if you should even dare to enter into that world. Should you even open up your phone in the first place? This phone is for the people who want to use their phone a little bit less. So they have a really cool external display here. You can actually map out, now all apps don't work on it, but some basic ones do. You can use some social media stuff, you can use YouTube, you can read your text messages, and you could also peek at emails if they come in and things like that. So they have that external display here. They have a camera here as well, so that if you flip open the phone, you could actually take pictures that way, and you can actually take selfies using this small display as well. So that's a good way to use a good camera for selfies, the rear camera, rather than having to use a front-facing one. Now if you look at the bottom of the phone, this is the main speaker that they have for this phone. It's just one decently loud speaker. It's good, not great. You have a USB-C port. There is no headphone jack on this phone. On the left side, you'll have a power button, a very, very small power button, and on the right side, you'll have up and down on the volume. Now on the back of the phone, you do have the fingerprint sensor. Now what you're going to notice is when you pull this open, you're going to see the fingerprint sensor, and it is sort of in an awkward position. If you're going to hold the phone, normally your fingers are going to be a little bit higher up on the phone, so to reach down feels a little awkward. You sort of have to get used to opening it up and holding it in that way before adjusting your grip. So that might be a minor annoyance to some of you. This technology is really evolving in a big way, and this is a big improvement. So to give you an idea of these specs and how this phone performs and how the display is, you need to know that this is really a middle ground phone. So this phone has specs that are similar to $500 phones. This phone, it does not have a blazing fast processor. It is the Snapdragon 765G. And it's good. It's pretty close to maybe last year's flagship processor, but it's not quite there as far as performance. Now, it's very smooth. This phone is fast enough for most people. It's got a good display. It's actually a weird display. It's a 6.2 inch screen when you open it up. So it's bigger than the Galaxy S20 when you open it. And it's got a 2142 by an 876 resolution. And to be honest, I've not seen that weird of a resolution in a phone before. It's a little bit odd because it doesn't actually reach that 1080 mark. So this is not a 1080p display. If you're watching YouTube, it's on 720p, and that might be a little bit of a bummer to you. That's not a great look for Motorola, but they're not trying to reach the people who are so enthused that they have to get the latest and greatest of everything. And that's where Motorola is running into a problem with this phone. So the battery life, it's about a 2800 milliamp battery. It's okay. It's decent. It's good. A light user will get through the day. If you use this outside display a decent amount, you will probably get through the day with 20 or 30% of battery left. So the battery life is good. The performance, it's very good. The display, it actually is pretty good, even though you can only watch 720p on YouTube. The display itself looks very nice. Now, one other thing Motorola did mention, they are going to give 2 years of software updates to this phone. And using the camera, I've got to say I was pretty impressed. It is a level below flagship quality, but it's still pretty good. And there is some issues with portrait mode. I noticed that sometimes it thought some things were in the background to be blurred that weren't. But portrait mode still looked pretty good. The pictures looked really good. I was surprised at how good the camera was. Now, one other really cool feature of this phone, if you're taking a picture of your child and you want them to smile, you just point the camera at them, and when it focuses on their face, it will put this cool little smiley face. And my daughter smiled so much when I was actually taking her picture. It helped a ton. Now, another really cool feature of this camera is actually the video portion. If you're taking a video of someone, so let's say I turn around the camera, you could actually see that the other subject can actually see the video that is happening. And it's just a small little preview on the screen, but that is still a really big bonus. Now, this phone will only support 18-watt fast charging, so it will support fast charging, but it's not too fast. And this phone is not water resistant. This phone fits very nicely in your pocket. This phone is very, very easy to put away, and over time, I've got to say, this phone has grown on me because you put it in your pocket and it's very, very light. It's almost like it's not there, and it brings you back to that flip phone age when you're talking on the phone. Like, these are things we don't think about much anymore, but when you talk on the phone, this is so thin and light, and it's very satisfying to just shut it to turn off the call. It's very nice to peek at emails and not get caught up in all the rigmarole of life, and not to have to open up the display. And when you do open it up, it feels a little weird where this little hinges in the middle where it bends. But overall, when you're using this display, you're going to find that it feels really good to use, and it really feels like a normal smartphone. It's a normal smartphone size. It's not quite as wide as a normal smartphone, but it's bigger than the Galaxy S20 as far as screen size. It's just very, very wide. So whenever you do have it opened up, it's basically like using a $500 very good smartphone. And it's not a flagship level smartphone, but it's pretty good. You have decent and good battery life, a good display, and you have good performance. And you also have 5G connectivity, which is a very big deal. And Motorola, they refined a lot of things from the first edition. So it's either open or closed. There's no middle ground. You know, if you have it like this, it's just going to open up pretty much on its own. So this phone, it's for the people that want to go back to those nostalgic days. You want to relive those nostalgic days. In a lot of ways, you're paying a premium. You're paying an extra $600 or $700 or $800 even to stay off your smartphone. That's one thing you're paying for. You're paying for the nostalgia of having a Motorola Razr. And you're paying to be able to experience new foldable screens, which a lot of people just don't care about that. And that's one thing you're paying for. And you're paying for the ability to have very light phone calls, the ability to have something light in your pocket. These are the pros of the Motorola Razr. Now, if you're spending that amount of money and you're a productivity monster, you might want to go with the Galaxy Fold. They have refined foldable technology. You could get a big tablet if you open it up. So a lot of you might want to go there. So even though this isn't quite as good as the Galaxy Z Flip, and it doesn't have quite as many good specs, it's still a phenomenal phone. But the big question is, who should buy this phone? And the reality is, I named all these pros, but your average person, I wouldn't recommend them spend $1,000 on the Galaxy S20. Your average person doesn't need all that, let alone a nostalgic throwback. It's a cool piece of technology. This is amazing, but the price isn't there yet. If this was $600 and this had a worse processor, you know, you have a phone like the Galaxy S20 Fan Edition out. I just reviewed that actually. And if you have the S20 Fan Edition, if you're comparing it to this, and then you say, well, I'd rather be off my smartphone, I'd rather have a worse processor, I'd rather have a worse display, I'd rather have a lighter phone. You're getting a lot of worse things with this phone, and if it was the same price as a $600 smartphone or a $700 smartphone, well, yeah, for $700, this might be a good deal. So who knows, maybe in a year it'll go on sale and that'll be a good option for you. But it's twice the price as those smartphones that it's also inferior to. So you're really just paying for nostalgia, you're paying for a way to be off your smartphone, and you're also paying for the idea that you could be off your smartphone, you could be on, you could have a small display, you could have a big display, and you could have a little bit of that nostalgia. That's the reason you would buy this phone. And truthfully, I don't think a lot of people should buy it unless you could get it for around $600 or $700. And remember, this is the Motorola Razr 5G. Don't get it confused with the previous edition if you are looking online. So I'm excited for the tech. This is one of the coolest phones I've ever used. And I don't really care. It doesn't have a 90 hertz or 120 hertz refresh rate. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles. But hey, this is awesome. And if this type of phone was for $600 or $700, I would pick this phone over some of the flagships that are out. I would actually pick this phone and use this phone, even though it's got an inconvenient fingerprint sensor. It's a little bit lower. Even though there's some little things I don't like, I actually love the premise of this phone. I love how it works, but the technology just needs to come down in price. Otherwise, it's just not going to catch on. But if it comes down in price, I see a lot of people picking a slightly inferior phone so that they could really stay off of their phone and so that they could use a flip phone, which is just a lot better for phone calls and it's a lot better to put in your pocket. Thank you so much for watching this review. Feel free to give me a like and a subscribe. Thank you all again so much. I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a great day, and again, make sure to stay safe.